Yes, yes. Hello, everybody. Welcome, welcome back to another video, another live, another Friday ahead of this big match against Fulham. A big opportunity, I think, for us as per usual. Not just this time to actually get in the top four, top five, because we are finally entering the weekend already in the top five, top four for the first time in I think multiple years. I want to say, guys, from 2024 was the last time. 2023 maybe was the last time we were in the top four at the start of a weekend or end of another. It was crazy how long it's been. Um, but which is absolutely nuts. But yeah, another good opportunity because of course we play the 7th placed team on Sunday and have the opportunity to put quite a decent little gap between us and the others. I mean, we could put a gap as much as 7 points between us and 7th, and that would be really, really good. So it's a huge game in that respect. I think it's yes, we've been in the top 5. We're in the top 5, top 4. That's been one opportunity. But this is probably the first chance this entire season to put a little bit of distance between us and the pack. And I think that that's an even better opportunity, not to reduce the pressure, but to make us just feel like we're well ahead, we're well ahead of these other clubs where we're significantly further ahead and we're no longer, right in the midst of like the Fulhams and the Brentfords. We've got to be able to pull away from those guys. I understand if it stays tight between us and Chelsea, Liverpool, and all of that, but we've got to be able to start pulling away from some of these mid-table clubs and stop being a mid-table club ourselves. But how y'all doing today? Hello, Satya, Jeet, Sean, Rob, Iraqi, Howler, DB Cooper, Silly Handle, King Eric, Neymar Jr. No new signings happening. Jason, my friend, how you doing, buddy? James, Issa, RJ, Daniel, George, Jacob, John, Jacob, Jingleheimer, Radiant, Javier, and all of that. 3% is still better than 0%. That's true. Yeah. How are we doing? Cliff, Tiger, Highwell. Anyway, good to see you all here. I hope you are all enjoying your Friday. Chili says hi. Nice. Thank you for that. Evening fruit shoot. I hope you're all doing well. I hope you've had a good week. Good long weeks we've had here in between games as it has been. And unfortunately, it's been, of course, a bit boring. A bit boring as far as it goes in terms of United in the window. We're not really doing anything. We weren't really expecting anything. We weren't really thinking about anything at this point in time. Yeah, it's the quietest January certainly that I can remember in quite some time. The quietest January in quite some time for me. There was a lot of news like leading up to, even with changing managers, it was the quietest January in quite some time. There was a lot. I had a lot of stuff pre the month just in terms of like long-term plans and things. And that's kind of the way that everything's being thought about right now is long-term plans, not the short, not today, not tomorrow, but the long-term plans. And, and then that's it. Nothing else happening. Just those long-term plans. And all we were going to do in January was if we could do the long-term plans, we would do them. And so it turns out we can't do the long-term plans. Once Semenya was off the table, we checked in on other things, and it was always a long shot that we would make any kind of move. The Balebas aren't available, all of that. It's easily the most boring January I can remember. But correct, I would agree, Marcus. There's also a lack of panic, and I think that that's a good sign, as well, in terms of that our planning is not short term, is not crazy, is not anything like that. 1 second. So, yes, so that's been, so it's that's just it. It's all the long term. I did a video yesterday kind of covering a bit more of the long-term plans again, reorienting where we're at. We'll do a summary after January, just rehashing, going through all of the big list of targets. But that's one of the things that I do want to talk about today, is that there's been a couple of little reports about a few new signings, or a few new scouting targets, I should say. Maybe future signings, maybe alternative options. Maybe here's where some of those other names come in. Maybe they're just bullshit, but I would like to talk about them, because what else is there to talk about when it comes to transfers? And these are some new names at the moment. And yeah, look, Liam, thing is that my view doesn't matter. You know, we shouldn't have a board that is as, you know, in the immediate, all of us can look and panic and freak out about things, and that's our due as fans and as all of that, to look at it and say what we say. It's on them to be smart. It's on them to stick to some sort of consistent plan, and it's on them to make sure that that plan results in results at the end of the day. You know, they've made their bed. They've made their decisions. Do I think it's on the basis of lack of ambition? No, I don't think so. Do I think it's on the basis of, you know, anything? I don't know. The reality is that I think that the plan that they've come up with and the way that they're going about this potentially is the right plan. We don't know. We won't know until later, you know, but at the moment, I think that their plan is quite smart, understanding the finances. Do you think addressing the defense is important as a midfield? Harry's last season. Not as important, Jason, but I do think that it'll be an Achilles heel in a lot of competitions when we don't have that big, athletic, fast center back or anything like that. You know what I mean? So, yeah. So I'm not sure. So yeah, I'm really not sure on that front what they'll do there, but I do have some concerns. It's risky if we get some injuries. Well, our squad depth isn't, well, yes and no. I mean, look, the fact of the matter is, the first half of the season we had AFCON, we had injuries, we had different injuries, we had different things. We had Cunha out for a little, Sheshko out for a little, Mount out for a little, AFCON, Maguire out for a lot. Lissandra wasn't even ready at the start of the season. Lamans wasn't even there when we started. And we still were the third best team in the league based on the underlying stats, and just had a couple unfortunate finishes. So I think on that basis, why would we not be better in the second half of the season? Why would we, either way, why would we not be better at the second half of the season? You know, we should be. I'm ready to ride it out. I don't think it is that thin when we have one game a week and the big gaps between them and things like that. I think it's okay. I mean, we haven't even needed to see Lenny and Heaven recently, and Mazraoui didn't start. Remember, he can come back in too. Like, there's quite a few players that can come into the squad. So I'm not really worried about the squad depth or anything. In fact, my biggest thing was that when it was under Amorim, it was like, okay, we need just to get a body into that midfield. Athletic, somebody who can run around a bit. Now I look at it and I go, it's really not worth signing anyone unless they're an actual improvement on what we have, you know? Otherwise it isn't. I mean, look at Xerxes. He's not even gonna play, and he'll be here. So I don't know. But that's kind of that aspect of it. But let's talk about a couple of things, because there's been a few more scouting things going on. Who knows anything about this guy? Aleksandar Stankovic at Club Bruges. Okay, he's not on the Data MB, but he's here on Transfer Market. It says he's a defensive midfielder. I did watch a little bit of the Champions League game he played against Marseille, but I didn't actually pay much attention to him. He plays in Belgium. He's an Italian-Serbian individual. Says he's a defensive midfielder, but I look at his stats and I'm going, he's got 2 goals, 2 assists in 8 games in the Champions League. He's got, I'm aware of his stat. He's got 4 goals, 1 assists in 1,600 minutes. He seems to get involved in the goals quite a lot. 11 goal contributions from defensive midfield is pretty impressive. They battered Marseille. Like they absolutely battered him. Yeah, I mean, he's 20 years old. Looks like a very impressive player, and apparently, you know, he's something about Inter have a buyback on him or something like that. So I read or saw a link or something like that, but United have been scouting, and I don't know anything about this player, but I've seen reports that we're scouting him, but I've also seen reports that Inter have a buyback or something on him that they could bring him back. Now, obviously, he'd have to agree to that to go back to joining them. That's usually how buybacks work, but obviously he might really want to go back to Inter or something like that. There's something to do with Inter on there that I can't remember. So, interesting player. I mean, it's good to see if we're looking at, you know, like names we haven't heard of, different types of players, people, not that we haven't heard of, you know what I mean, but some of the lesser known names, because we know we need multiple players this summer, not just one. And that there's always the possibility that we need many signings. So yeah, just trying to think that through and figure that out is an interesting one. But yeah, I don't know if anybody knows much about him, but he looks like quite a player. I'll never pronounce Marseille properly. No, I probably won't. Marseille. But yeah, maybe this is Vivel. Maybe this is something else. I mean, who knows? Maybe it's just scouts. You know what I mean? But either way, looks an interesting player. So, you know, I want to see more links to players like that, right? Because it's like those are the guys where you're going, yeah, we've not seen a ton of those types of signings very often. We've just not seen them we've not seen them very often over recent years. It's always like the obvious signings, the big ones, the main ones, the same ones we're always talking about are the ones that we end up signing. And these are ones you can maybe get if you find more good ones like this. I mean, maybe it was I don't know, maybe you get some bargains. 100 million for Anderson, 80 million for Baleba. These are certainly, you know, expensive ones. It would be good if we found some cheaper ones. It'd be good if we found some cheaper ones, right? Because we need alternatives. We need options out here. You know, it's just like we've just been talking about depth and things like that. Well, it'd be good if every one of our targets wasn't, you know, 100 million, right? That would be a good thing. They don't always have to be. I mean, I understand we want top targets and things like that, and in an ideal world, that's what we get, but there's other possibilities out here. I also did see Amadou Onana once again opening his mouth talking about how, you know, Belgians tend to do this, don't they? I don't know what it is, but the Belgian players with the brutal honesty in pressers and interviews and things like that. But Amadou Onana saying that he wants to go to a world-class club someday from Villa. That's definitely his aim. I'm sure Villa fans aren't going to take that particularly well. I mean, they've got more Champions Leagues, or should I say European titles, than Arsenal. So, you know, it's not like they're not a big club with some history, but I don't know. I guess I wonder what he means by that. Who he considers to be that type of club these days. Is he talking about, you know, going to Spain and Real Madrid or something? But yeah, who are you talking about? You know? That's a question. I remember, of course, that Onana, when we were looking at midfielders back then, apparently it was sort of held up by maybe Ten Hag and some of the conflicts between agencies and things like that at the time. There's rumors about it, slightly unconfirmed, but certainly believable. But yeah, sell one Onana, swap him with the other. You're the one. My name's not Andre, you know? Swap that one. He's talking about money. Yeah, that is what it is at the end of the day, isn't it? He wants big club money, and Villa don't pay necessarily big club money, despite their history at this point because of financial concerns and things like that. But Onana would be still a good signing. I think he's been decent. I don't think he's been lighting the whole world up, but he is a really, really, really good profile, and I think, you know, has potential to be a top player still. I certainly would have loved to sign him back when we were originally looking at him and interested in him. Would have been nice back then. So yeah, there's some interesting stuff. We signed plenty of non-SEG players under Ten Hag, just rumors created to bash him. Nope, they were 100% factual, not rumors at all. Gotta do a little more research on that, because SEG got their hands into most of those deals one way or another, and part of the big inflation of prices. But there was a lot more than just that. Gotta look into, not just rumors. There was real stuff on it. Real stuff on it. Add Tonali to our list. Tonali would be a very, very nice one. Ineos got away with no Jan signings thanks to Arsenal and City wins. Well, yes, but also like, isn't that make sense? You know what I mean? Doesn't that make sense? Doesn't it make sense that the fact that we were good is sort of explains why we haven't made signings? Like, all right, so I was this is like a total tangent allegory comparison here, right? Obviously, you get like a lot. There's like political unrest and things like that. Yes, Jacob, Leverkusen put out a whole public statement about it, and nobody combated it. So, yeah. Hello, Aaron. Hi, Ramon. Good to see you guys here. But listen, I'll give you a totally random comparison to this point on January, right? So, this thing of like people getting away with not signing players because we're winning games. So, on occasion, I'll read or stumble across like political commentary and things like that I try to avoid entirely because it bothers me. And one of the interesting things, and this isn't me being against, you know, anything, is that like, and it's the same thing with the protests around United, right? Is that when things look good, the protests stop and people go, well, you know, they're getting away with it because the team looked good. And, you know, you have people politically will be like, you know, why is there no revolution? You know, people don't revolt because they're so comfortable, because they've got Wi-Fi and food and delivery and all the trappings of life that, you know, make them comfortable, and that's why they don't revolt. But like, yeah, that's kind of the point. Like, yeah, people don't revolt because despite all the issues out there, for the majority of people on this planet, life is better than it's ever been, despite the problems. And it's like, yeah, you don't want to, why upset the apple cart when, yes, those trappings, those are things that make life a hell of a lot easier. Yeah, I don't want to lose my Wi-Fi. That's like a huge part of making life comfortable, is having internet, you know, and having food delivery and not being hungry and being warm. Like, yes, I don't want to upset those things. So I'm not like particularly in a revolutionary mood because life's kind of good. That's kind of why you have revolutions, is when life's really, really bad. So if for the majority of people, life is really good, that's why they're not all up in arms all the time. That's just the truth. But it's the same as it goes for the football club. When things look good, there's of course less of an impetus for protests and things like that, because the whole point is for things to look good. People want the club to be successful and all that. that. So them not signing players in January, getting away with it because we're winning. Well, the point is winning. So the fact that we are winning games and beating top teams, yeah, it lets them get away with it, but it also proves them maybe perhaps right on the idea that we don't need to rush into spending money on players that don't necessarily improve the squad overall. You know what I mean? That's kind of the idea, is that, of course, it justifies that because it's true. The only reason you need to rush into signings, like you look at a lot of the signings that are being made in this window, besides Semenyo and Gehi, which I think are very good signings, who are the needle movers? Who are the needle movers, right? Who are the signings that you're looking at? Villa, you're looking at these clubs, they're signing players. And at first I was worried about it, but then I looked at them and I go, well, but like, why? You know what I mean? But like, they're not players I would like us to be spending money on. The guys that a lot of these clubs are signing. Like, I don't want us spending money on those players. I don't want us. If I look at where we're at right now, we don't need like I don't know who, Tammy Abraham to get us into top 5. Like, I'm sorry, that's not going to make a difference to us. You know what I mean? I don't need that level of player. We do need top players, and the wins essentially justify that, and they kind of prove it to be true. You know, it's not about, I would have hoped we could have somehow pulled off getting one of our long-term signings in January, but so it just isn't to be. You know what I mean? It's just not to be at this point in time. It's just not. Like, I remember summer. I remember like Spurs making all these signings, and I remember at one point they had like 3 or 4 signings done, and we still only had Cunha done. And I remember there was a bunch of panic, and I remember going, but do you see who they've signed? Like, it's just Spurs players. Like, it's such typical Spurs signings. Like, I don't. We got Cunha, fine. I'm happy. We're just gonna push through and follow through on getting Mbumo rather than panicking about how they signed 3 more mid players that are just very Spursy signings. You know, very okay signings that aren't really going to make them better, that are just going to do the typical Spurs things. I'm okay with that. I remember that in summer, the whole panic about that. But at the time, they looked decent. Not to me. You know, I get a lot of shit for all the things I get wrong, when we all get so many opinions wrong. But I remember very explicitly in summer saying, I cannot believe people are worried about the signings that Spurs are making. You know, like, we're signing the best of the rest. They're signing the second tier best of the rest. And that's what Spurs have done for a long time. That's why they're always who they are. They don't sign the best of the rest. They'll go to like Wolves, and instead of getting Cunha, they'll get like Strand Larson. Or instead of getting, to Brentford, instead of getting Mbumo, they'll get somebody else at the club. You know what I mean? Like, they get the good players at those clubs, but not the top tier players from those clubs. And that doesn't worry me when you look at who they sign and what they do. It just doesn't worry me. I remember The Athletic rating Paulinho as the best signing of the entire summer. Go back and check it out in The Athletic's roll call of or list of signings for the summer and rating them. Paulinho's rated the #1 best signing in the summer window. And then go look at like where Cunha and Mbumo and Šeško and all of them are. Look at that. Like, the crazy. Like, they were like their summer was so overrated, so crazily overrated at the time. And obviously, in hindsight, that's very, very easy to see. But it's that type of thing. Like, we've been decent, man. We've been decent. But we don't need to rush into signings anymore. You know, I'm happy with what I've seen from Carrick, with what I've seen from this team. We may feel differently in 2 months, but right now it looks like the right call. You know, it looks like the right call. I mean, remember last summer? remember last January, speaking of Spurs, we were looking at loaning Tell, and then we were like, and then what did Spurs do? They went and paid for him, like bought him in the end in order to get the deal over the line. And now they want to move him on, and he's not even on the Champions League list. Like, they rushed so hard into needing a signing that now they're trying to get rid of him a year later. You know what I mean? So I just with what we've seen in terms of the change in manager, the change in setup, and you know, realistically looking at those underlying signings, you know, I'm glad. I get it. You know, like Gallagher. We've been looking at Gallagher, but we had a line. We're not buying him. Well, we will loan him and see how he does. We're not buying him. They just went out and bought him. How's that going to work out? You know, how's that going to work out? So, yeah, I don't know. So yeah, anyway, it's an interesting one on that front. I'm just not particularly worried about it. I'm not particularly worried about it at the moment for us. I think that overall we're okay with where we're at, and the strategy to me seems healthy. There was another name here, which was Muharemovic. There's a story today that we're scouting the center back from Serie A, Muharemovic.
Would you still go for Mateta?
No. No longer. Not with how we're playing, with having Mbeumo and Cunha's options. So, like, here was my view, right? Previously, when we were playing the 3-4-3, 3-4-2-1, whatever, we needed more strikers because Mbeumo had to stay on the right because Ahmad was on the right wing back. I never wanted us to lose those kinds of positions from them. Now that we're playing a different way, now that we're playing a 4 at the back, and we're moving Mbeumo and Ahmad and such around to fit them in, and we have Cunha and we have Dorgu. I know he's injured right this moment, and we've got all these, and Mount and Šeško and all these guys. I don't really want another older, you know, striker like Mateta. I would take a very short term like Cavani, but I don't think we should be getting someone Mateta who, he's a good player, but no, for me, I just don't think we need like another out and out 9 in that instance the same way as we did before with the prior formation, because we've got more options once up front since switching to the 4 at the back. Second. So yeah, anyway, this was another name that we got here. Muharemovic. I don't know if anybody knows anything about him. Muharemovic. Another Vic. Sassuolo center back, rates very highly on aerial duels, on possessions won. So I don't know, an aggressive big center back, I suppose. I don't know much about him, but yeah, seems like just something United are looking at. Probably not a serious option or anything, but you got to keep your eyes open. We've watched a few. We watched Milenkovic some years ago. We actually got somewhat close to signing him at one point, but just another random name that we've been linked to keep an eye on. Are there any concerns over Šeško not starting as much? No, not right now. There's not really concerns at this point under Carrick as of yet that anybody isn't playing. It's just getting into it. And I think that, ironically, now that we're in this back stretch of the season and post AFCON, that everybody's just got to settle in and suck it up. If you play or you don't, and the players who, that's just it. You play or you don't. And we're trying to get in that push to Champions League, and we're going to take it game by game. And I'm sure some players will play. I'm sure Šeško will get up more minutes moving forward here soon. But, it is funny because, like, again, we go back to this thing about how when you switch coaches, there's going to be a new player who's like not getting a lot of minutes. It's just always going to be the case. And, under Ten Hag, it was like there was Ahmad and such, and in different situations, obviously. Under Amram, there's Menu, but now under Carrick, there's going to be different names too that just don't play often, and that's okay. It's okay, especially now. And it's just at the end of the day, a consequence of not having enough matches. We need more games. We just need more games. Because I look at the team and I go, why would you change it? We'll get to our squad vote here shortly, but like, why would you change the team? What do you guys think? And we'll do our squad vote here before the end of this live, but why would you change the winning team? You have a team that's been working hard together. You have a team that's been compact, that's building those relationships in a different situation. Why would you change it? I have to say, sorry, James, you were right on Dorgu. Underlying numbers were correct this time. It's just with players, you got to always give them that year. And Dorgu turned up within a year. He turned up and came alive. But underlying numbers are almost always right in the end. But not always for sure. But yeah, Dorgu, I'm just happy he's sort of showing what he showed before, because I seen something and I was convinced it was going to happen, even though it just wasn't hitting for him. But yeah, why change the team? Dorgu's going to be out obviously with his injury, and there's hope that he'll be back in 6 to 8 weeks. But really, all we need is Cunha. Cunha's got to play. If there's the first player who should be coming into the team that isn't playing right now is Cunha. Goal contributions in both of his sub appearances the last 2 games, hugely influential, dynamic, obviously a top player, right? Cunha's got to come in. Cunha's got to come into the team. That's for sure. So if I'm making one change for Dorgu, obviously, it's got to be Cunha. It's got to be. I don't even know that any other change is justified, because you never change a winning team too. And I understand there's matchups, but let's step back for a second here. Okay. One of the problems that we had with Ruben Amorim, which was a valid problem. I remember speaking about this after we got beat by Brentford. And one of the things that was discussed at that time, when his job wasn't actually under threat, but one of the things that was discussed at that time about how he was approaching games was thinking too much about the opposition and how you set up the team. That's something they don't want. We are a big club. We're a good team. I don't believe that Carrick is going to focus too much on the opposition, because that's how you guys like Amram fall into those traps. And that's what happened against Wolves. And that's what happened in these other games. There's too much focus on the opposition, right? He said, like, we had to do this to match up their 3 and et cetera, right? They don't want us to be that way. And I don't think that Carrick particularly thinks that way. Knowing how he coached at Middlesbrough as well, he was very stubborn in that respect. He wants his way of playing. And that's a little different to what I'm saying about Amram, because Amram obviously was very stubborn about his way of playing. But I mean, in terms of the game-to-game matchup, a lot of managers who are sort of feel like they're on shaky ground start managing for the matchup rather than just managing the team, right? When I say they, as I heard it, Wilcox and co and them that was one of the things they spoke about not doing. And over the next few weeks, we were much better right after that, was don't spend all week preparing for the opposition. Spend all week preparing on what you want to do. Focus on what we can do. And you look at Carrick's words, I think they reflect that. And I think, I don't know. I don't know firsthand well enough to say this to be sure, but I do think that Carrick's view is going to be more, more proactive, more about this is how we want to play. He kind of said that today in the presser or an interview or something. I can't remember the exact words. They weren't very like over the top words, and it's obviously never going to be with Carrick, but it was just something about how it's not that different on a week to week thing. And, you know, it's just about playing the way that we play. We can play the same way and just have more of the ball. You know what I mean? Like, we can play the same way and start to have more of the ball. But if we start losing, then he will change. But that's the correct thing. When you're winning, change. Amram would change a winning team because he was so focused about the matchup the next week. Whereas a lot of managers, like I believe the way Carrick thinks, is when you win, you keep it. You win, you stick with it. You stick with the same idea, the same concept. And the truth of the matter is that yes, Fulham is a different game to Arsenal and City, but not so different. Like, the expectations are different. We're going to have more of the ball. We're going to see it a lot. We're going to have it. We're going to be expected to win, right? But what were we doing against, like, tell me this, all right? What were we doing against City and Arsenal that wouldn't translate to a game against Fulham? Tell me that. Because we could say, well, we weren't pressing as much. Okay, maybe we don't press as much against Fulham. But neither will they, which means we're going to still have more of the ball like we did against Arsenal. So what did we do against City or Arsenal? I'm asking this to you guys as a question. If you saw something I didn't. Because one of the things that was very intriguing to me is that we were not playing pure counterattacking football in either game. Yes, some of the attacks were fast. Yes, there were some quick transitions. That's not going to change. We're always going to be willing to do quick transitions. When we attacked with 5. When we attacked, we covered all the channels. When we played through the midfield, we played through the midfield. The rondos, the playing through them, the playing around them, and all of that. So what I'm asking for is not, are we amazing, are we perfect? I'm saying, what did we do against City and Arsenal that wouldn't work against Fulham? You know what I'm saying? Like that's my question. I don't think there's anything. Intensity might drop, and yeah, that's a consequence, right? We don't want to let that happen, but that's not a, I'm saying what we did in those games will work against teams like Fulham, because it's just going to mean we're just going to have more of the ball. We're facing a less good press, a less intense press. Maybe they counterattack a little faster. We'll have to work a little harder, but all the same concepts will be the same. All the same concepts will be there. My fear is my only worry is there were a couple of moments against Arsenal, especially in the first 35 minutes, where we actually did get countered and there was a lot of space. And we managed to shut them down well because Arsenal's forwards are doo-doo, but so are Fulham's, to be fair. They're not very good. So, just statistically anyway, they're not like top forwards in this league. But that's the part that's very encouraging to me, and that's why I don't think we're going to change much. I don't think they're going to change much at all in their approach to this game. I think it's just, yep, we might face a few more counters because we have more of the ball. We might do this, but it's the same thing. We were playing with the ball with the intention to build up. We were playing with the ball with the intention to play through the small spaces and things like that. And I don't think it's going to change that much the way we approach it. And I don't think the team will either. Did you see, there was a little video of Carrick coaching his 4 deep midfielders is what I would assume it is, right? Because he's playing in this 2 pairing. And obviously the 4 deep midfielders he saw there were Casemiro, Kabi, Ugarte, and I think it was Jack Fletcher. Could be wrong. But he was kind of coaching them directly, working with that group of 4, and one of the simple things that they were doing was, just pass and move, 4-man pass and move, not a rondo, but 4-man pass move, like rotations. And that's, obviously different. That's one of the areas he has changed our approach. Even though it's not a huge tactical difference, it's a small difference. He has changed our approach versus Ruben Amorim's, obviously, where with Ruben Amorim's, you're attacking always the space, get it in the midfield, look for the space. Against the way that Carrick sets up his midfield, a lot of small space play, a lot of playing, play around them to get out of those spaces and then find the gaps and attack the spaces. A little bit different. But it was cool to see that, because obviously we've seen that in game. Right, we've seen them playing in the circles around teams and pass and move, just little quick pass and moves. It's good to see them all practicing that, and it's good to see that that's what he's working on with them. And obviously, it's an area that Carrick can have a huge impact as a coach. Forget like even manager, as a coach, the ability to help people. It's just interesting to see that, because Carrick is obviously. Was one of the more press resistant midfielders, and his whole thing at Middlesbrough is the same: pass and move. A lot more pass and move than what we were seeing before in terms of positional play. A lot less stringent on that positional play. Yeah, Cunha, Bruno, Luke Shaw, Cunha. Exactly. That type of thing. He's got his setup isn't that different, but it's far less positional in terms of intent and a lot more pass and move. So. Yeah, I mean, look, it'll be a little different because we think that Fulham will let us have the ball a little bit more, but we have enough quality to score goals. We have lots and lots of quality to score goals in this team now. So I doubt we'll change. A couple of things that we have: Xerxes returning to team training, and according to somebody, wants to stay beyond the window. I mean, he's pretty much going to at this point. Wants to, has to, who knows what the right answer is there. And Ligt still not back in training. I'm definitely a bit worried about that. Again, not like long-term worried, but back injuries can be a nightmare. They can be a nightmare. And it's been randomly, it's been what? 6 to 8 weeks now. How long has it been since Ligt has been out? And we saw the difference Maguire made coming back and Lissandro coming back into this team. Who knows how some of the games would have gone if they'd been fit over the Christmas period. But Licht's been out a long time, and I'm worried. These back injuries are such a bitch, and the issue is having pain. Because you remember those types of like back hotspot things. Rashford had one, Højlund had one, those kind of stress fracture things. You either play through the pain and risk actually like making it a lot worse and requiring surgery or having to be out for a good 5-6 months, or you rest until it feels all the way better. And there's not much else you can actually do about it. You just have to wait. And it's sort of, the timelines are unknown because you're talking about not soft tissue. It's like different stuff. And it was a big part of Rashford's issues at the club when he slowed down and maybe wasn't as aggressive in duels as he was before, was those back injuries. That back injury he had that really hurt him. Carrick says he's due back in a couple of weeks, and let's hope, but he's not back in team training. And it is a as you were basis. It's just an as you go basis. It's like, we'll see. You just have to let it ride and kind of see what happens there, in terms of feeling better and getting better, all of that as well. So we'll just have to wait and see. I am a little bit I am definitely a little bit concerned about that. Well, United announcing Joe Hugel. I didn't really joined Kilmarnock on a deal. Yeah, De Ligt had been really solid defensively, though I would say still that Maguire is the better center back right now because of the way he plays with the ball. Hope we don't see the donut midfield against Fulham, James. I know. The one thing I'm still worried about, I want to find the image. I'm going to find the image for you guys because I actually wanted to very briefly look at this because there was one moment, okay, against Arsenal that concerned me. And I thought, and it was like we pressed up the pitch, we got up the pitch, we were playing up the pitch, and in that moment, the donut was there, and our midfield was wide open, and it didn't happen a lot, and it was only fairly early on in the game, but it scared me because I thought, how did that happen? Here, let's see. I think I've got it now. I just want to very quickly look at this and say, how do we stop this from happening? This is 19 minutes. Look at our midfield here. This is bad, right? This is that gap we're talking about. We pressed high up the pitch. I don't know if I have the image. Look at how we were pressing, right? We pressed up the pitch. And here's Cobby, and then Casemiro's over here. And they just went right over it and had just huge numbers in the middle. And then you look, they win the second ball. Maguire has to challenge, and we're still not back in the midfield. And, you know, of course, again, they're shit. So they weren't able to take advantage of it. And we end up finally getting back, but mostly because Maguire was just amazing at slowing the play down, at impacting their runs, at running off of them to give us time. But that was my only moment of concern, really, in that Arsenal game, was that it did happen when we pressed. It did happen when we pressed, and that doesn't mean it's a bad thing. It doesn't mean that it's like that. That's what I'm saying. Like, it was just once that I was like, okay. But the only thing I would say about it is that one of the reasons it can happen is because we lack recovery pace in the midfield. And we did not, and the only reason to be concerned about it is we didn't press all the way to the keeper very often against Arsenal. We did not press all the way up, okay? So it was one of the few times we did, and the donut returned. And I thought about Brighton, and I thought, okay, it was under Fletcher, and it was a different coach. But we tried to press in that game, and the midfield was wide open. And that's my only concern, is that if we start pushing back up to the keeper, will it return in earnest? Simply because we have two problems that close the donut down. Because look, gaps happen, they do. But what prevents gaps? Athleticism, speed, right? They're going to happen tactically, but the faster your players are, the quicker they can close those gaps. We have a slow midfield and a slow back line. If we had a fast midfield and a slow back line, that would close the gaps a little bit. If we had a fast back line and a slow midfield, it would close the gaps a little bit. But we have a slow midfield and a slow back line when we play Maguire, Lissandro, Casemiro, Manu. Not talking about quality, it is our slowest box of four players. Just is. In terms of midfield choices and center back choices, it's the slowest. Obviously, Yoro and Heaven are faster. I'm not saying they're better choices, but Ugarte's faster than Casemiro, etc. I'm not saying these are even the wrong options. They're the best players, but they are slow, relatively, right? And that's the only concern. That's the only concern that I have, is that we still do lack that balance, and that's obviously why we're looking for that athletic six, and why we do need Heaven and Yoro to come through in the future to be able to be those athletic kind of center backs that step up, because the gap will be there, and we do have slower players, and teams can still exploit that. So we just have to hope that they don't essentially exploit it. But anyway, that was the only time I saw it. So it was just a little thing. But I do have small concerns, and why I want to see against Fulham, and agreed exactly that. That's why we shouldn't press up too high and press all the way to the keeper too often. Against Fulham, we should just keep doing what we're doing. Stay in that block that's compact. Don't go crazy with the press. It's fine. We don't need to have 60% of the ball. If we have 45, 50% against Fulham, you know what? I don't give a shit. I could not care less. I'm not going to sit there and go, it's a bad job because we only have 45% of the ball. I'm not going to, it's arbitrary to me. Keep doing what we're doing. Don't press too much. Don't press too much when we can't afford it. If our line isn't, when we're counter pressing, right? When we lose the ball way up there and our back line is already in their half, press your asses off. Don't let them out. Smother them. Keep the ball. I want to see that. Counter pressing is huge. But don't stretch it when our back line is in our own half. Don't stretch the pitch too much. Keep it compact. Let them have the ball a little and then win it back and play through them and then until we're in their half. And then you can counter press. So, yeah, that's why it's like, let's just keep doing what we're doing, and then we don't have to worry about those kinds of things. So, yeah, that's mostly what I wanted to cover today. We talked about, before we get to the teams, we talked about Muharamovic. Oh, and by the way, you'll notice as well, Proton VPN, mentioned that in a recent video, but now sponsored, you can get 70% off fast VPN service on a 2-year deal or 60% off a 1-year deal, or you can pay monthly. But it is a very, very good service. I use myself and obviously very, very useful for football fans and otherwise with all the different games, competitions, blackouts, things like that. So you can use the QR code or the link below to sign up. Let's do our lineup vote. Okay. We get Baliba and Anderson by Monday. I don't think so. And guys, we're doing it a 4-4-2 again. Actually, let me just look at something. People really didn't like the 4-4-2 vote, but it's a 4-4-2. It's a 4-4-2. I just wanted to look at what did the lineup look like. It's hard to tell because obviously in possession versus out of possession shapes and all of that. I mean, we're still gonna do it as a 4-2-2, a 4-4-2. It's more like a 4-1-3-2, to be quite honest, which isn't a real formation, but I think it's a 4-4-2. It really is a 4-4-2. Like in all aspects, it's a 4-4-2. The left mid is in line with Kabi and Ahmad. Bruno kind of floats in and out of the front line, and otherwise, and then it's just slightly staggered, but it's a 4-4-2. It's about as 4-4-2 as it gets. We're gonna do it as a 4-4-2 again. A 4-2-2, I hope not. 4-2-2 ain't enough. All right, so let's see. Who are our automatics? We don't have to do everybody. I know that people like to vote for keepers because it's hilarious, but it's Senna Lamens, and there ain't no doubt about that. Luke Shaw is our only left back right now. We know I won't put Mbumo just in case. All right, let's just do it like this. Let's go striker 1. Are we going with Šeško, or are we keeping the Mbumo train going? Are we sliding Cunha up there? What are we doing? And remember, Bruno, I'll put Bruno in here even as just one of our striker options, because essentially these are like our 4 striker options. Having Casemiro do it. Yeah, one's a little more, yeah. It's definitely 4-4 Fakin too. You guys are going to do this again though, aren't you? You're going to vote for Šeško, and then you're going to go, wait, how do we get Cunha in the team? Wait, how do we get Bruno in the team? Wait, how do we get Ahmad in the team? You can't blame me this week if it happens again, okay? You cannot. What? Because the only player out is Dorgu. So just bear that in mind. You can't blame me if you mess this up this week. It's not my fault this time. It's yours. 4-4-1-1. It's kind of like that, yeah. It's kind of, I mean, in a 4-4-2, often one of the strikers is obviously dropping in a little bit more. We're voting for striker. And like I said, if the problem is that if people will vote for Šeško, but then they'll go, wait, but then that means Bruno, but that means who's getting dropped? Cunha? Does that mean Ahmad's on the left? Who do you want? Who do you want? Not who do you think? Who do you want? I'm just saying think it through. Because you guys got so mad at me last week when you guys voted this way and then ended up with the whole lineup not making sense and getting all pissed off that you couldn't figure out how to fit Bruno or Cunha into the team and you or Ahmad, and it was like, wait, what the hell? Don't blame me. Don't blame me. All right, we go with Mbumo. All right, who's playing next to Mbumo? Is it gonna be? Do you want Šeško? Do you want Bruno? Or do you want Cunha? Who's playing next to Mbumo? It's the same. If it's a 4-2-3-1, we have the same problem. Even if it's a 4-2-3-1, we have the same problem. You know what I'm saying? Because look, if I do it as a 4-2-3-1 like this, it'll just be Bruno. And then you'll say, well, if we vote Šeško here and Mbumo here, where's Ahmad play? On the left, where's Cunha play? Not on the pitch? Like, it's still the same issue. You still just have to pick 2 players to be on the pitch. Okay. So Bruno's winning this vote. So you guys are you're thinking now. Because look, if I put this as a 4-2-3-1, the vote's not going to change. Because you still have to get Ahmad on the pitch. And people will still want Ahmad on the pitch. Like, Mbumo and Ahmad are never not getting voted in. I hope everybody realizes that. That's part of what complicates the situation, is it's always going to be Ahmad. Everybody's always going to want Ahmad on the pitch. And you're right. You're right. Because what the hell else are you going to do? You know? I guess I'll throw some random options over here. But that's the point. What else are you going to do? Nobody wants to drop Ahmad. Ahmad is easily like one of our vote winners every single week, and so is Mbumo. Like, I should just stick him in the team, and then you guys figure out how to play around that, and that'll be better for the vote. There you go. So now it's like this, you know, like it still doesn't matter. It's still gonna look the same, right? So now who's your left mid this week? I'll give you an alternative option. Cunha, Šeško, move Ahmad or Mbumo. I'll just give you this option in case anybody changes their mind. Just in case anybody decides they wanted to change their mind. How about 4-3-3, but 3 at right wing? Can we just, what if we just like, what if we just ditch, what if we just do something totally new? Play a striker and play 2 right wingers at the same time. It should just be who you're dropping. Right, exactly. And the answer right now is going to be Šeško, Matt. That's exactly right. For most people, the answer is going to be Šeško. You know, like, let's face it. We're all going to... This vote is pointless, isn't it? Replaces Dorgu. Who would you want to come in for him? Because nobody else is going to win the vote. You know what I'm saying? Like, this is the simplicity of the vote. Is this one question right here. Who do you want to replace Dorgu? Cunha, Šeško, or Mount? Not positionally, but just in general. Who do you want to get on the pitch first? The answer is going to be Cunha. That's it. And so then the team is going to be the exact same. Because there's no way anybody's voting for a different midfield or anything like that this week, right? We could vote it right back. Vote it right back. I think Dallow's been solid recently. But Mazraoui still probably will win the vote. Vote it right back. Yes, Šeško's a good option off the bench, and so is Mason Mount. And all right. I hear you. The idea of Ahmad left or Mbumo left, Ahmad right, but like, I don't know. It just is what it is. Cunha because of form and evidence. Right. Well, Cunha's scoring goals. How would you not put him on? You know, he's scoring goals. He's getting assists. He's been our most productive bench player right now. Greater in for Dallo? You think so? I don't know about that. Get a few more votes. All right, Mazraoui wins the vote. So there you have it. That's pretty much what I expected. I mean, most people, we don't want to see much change. We don't want to see. Why would we change a winning team, right? We've got to change Dorgu out. Obviously, Cunha's been ultra productive. This was my team. I kept Dallo even. No, I hit the wrong. This wasn't actually supposed to be Ugarte. That was bait. I messed that up. It wasn't actually. It was my subconscious was getting at me. But no, this is my team. I was actually supposed to just keep Dallo in though. I would keep Dallo going. I know that's crazy, but it's just that Dallo. I just don't change a winning team for me. That's my perspective. That's my belief. I don't want to see a winning team change. And Cunha's been part of the winning team as a sub. Obviously, he has to come in for Dorgu, but otherwise, I would just leave it as such. But yeah, that's the only difference from you guys is that I know everybody wants to see Maz. I think Maz is a better player and all of that, but being fair to Dallo, I actually think he's been good in both games, and I wouldn't change a winning team. You know what I mean? For now, it's kind of that simple for me. I know that that's not necessarily the easiest answer, but that's my answer at this one. Could also be Šeško and Buma left, Ahmad or Cunha right. Yeah, but here's the way I look at it, right? If you put Šeško in, you've made two changes. You've moved Mbeumo or Ahmad out of position that they've been playing in, and you're replacing Dorgu. So you've actually made three. You've changed your left mid from Dorgu to someone. You moved someone from one position to another, and you've put Šeško in. It's three changes. And I know that doesn't necessarily logic out right like that, but it is. It's like a like-for-like sub doesn't change the team. A sub coming in that moves another player out of position is actually more changes than it feels like, and has different dynamics on the team. So that's why I don't think that'll happen. That's why I don't want to see it. For now, while we're winning, I want to see just keep this going. As long as it's working, it's the best thing we've seen this season. Let's not change it. So that's what I've got for this one. So yeah, that's pretty much it. I didn't, yeah, there's lots of options all of a sudden. It's really good to see. As a reminder as well, of course, the picks are live for Manchester United versus Fulham. Mbeumo to score a goal, that's money. Bruno will score, get an assist. Yeah, I think those are good calls. Cunha have 2 shots. If he's starting, absolutely. He's one of the highest shooters in the game. These first 3 are kind of bangers of picks, to be honest. I think this one is like, I would definitely go yes on this one, and maybe one of those. Under 3 goals, I don't know. Under 5 corners in the first half, I don't know. I don't know about these, but these ones, this is a banker right here. 2 shots for Cunha. He's starting, he's getting 2 shots no matter what. Every time. He's getting 3 or 4 usually. And Mbeumo scoring is a pretty good one, but this is a banker. Sure. All right. That's it then. That's all I've got. That's it. I like Mount, Šeško, and Boom for this game. Interesting. That is a hot take. I like having Šeško and Mount as bench options that can get on the pitch. I think that they're good impact players and can make a difference there. Let's see. Anything else? I think that's it, guys. Obviously, we don't play till Sunday, so I'll be back tomorrow, kind of midday, to review the matches we've seen so far, see where we end up in the table. Who are Liverpool playing and when? So I'm just looking at the teams below us. So Liverpool playing Newcastle. Okay. On Saturday. So that's 6 versus 9. So that's good for us, actually. A draw there would be really nice. Chelsea play West Ham, which is kind of a bummer, but Liverpool can drop points. That would be very good. That would be very, very. So we'll kind of know, and then at least we're around there. 7 a.m. on Sunday. Okay. I'll be awake for the pre-match. I'll be here for lineups and all that on Sunday. But I'll be back tomorrow to review what's gone on so far and see any of the news about our team. And that's that. Okay. Thank you guys for watching. Appreciate you once again. Thank you to Proton VPN for being our affiliate here, and you can sign up at the link below there as well. And get your picks in. And otherwise, I will catch you all tomorrow. Okay. Have a good rest of your day. I hope you've all enjoyed the week. Enjoy the weekend. Enjoy your Friday evening. Enjoy the football tomorrow. And I'll see you soon. All right. Have a good one, everybody. Bye. If we see a goal and a new dance, I'll be there.